in the flux of rural and urban rhythms. Today, with many independent films to his credit, he is one of the leading documentary filmmakers in India who has established a unique style of his own, making impressionistic subjective documentaries as innovative experiences exploring various aspects of expression. Ramani sir has traveled widely. His films and retrospectives have been presented in various platforms. Ramani sir is also an acclaimed cinematographer, collaborating on many films with other filmmakers. He has served in the jury at many international film festivals and national film awards. He regularly gets invited to conduct filmmaking workshops, master classes, or as an academic consultant at many institutions in India, and has been a visiting professor at the Ambedkar University, Delhi for 5 years from 2015 to 2020. Presently, Ramani sir is working on many feature documentaries. His latest film, Oh That's Banu, has won 68 National Film Award for Best Direction in Non-Fiction category. So, I request you to kindly come on to the dais and take over the session, sir.
Yeah, after a wonderful session by Velikil Raghavan, which I found very educational for me, and I felt like listening to you all day actually, give you more time, and then because you wanted to say so much, and I also felt like wanting to listen to you. Uh, so it's kind of connected from what he spoke in terms of expressionism, impressionism. There are many isms in paintings. I move on to my session. This is I titled it as Politics of Image and Sound. It'll start a little formally. It feels lovely to be here with so many important dignitaries who are here, especially in the midst of my seniors from FTI Film Institute Pune, Girish Kasaravalli and Shaji Karun, who will be coming now for tomorrow's session. I'm thankful to Assistant Professor Madhu Babu for inviting me for this 3-day national workshop. I will share a few thoughts on the topic I proposed, politics of image and sound, and how my forays in filmmaking has evolved over the years. I'll try and show short excerpts from some of my works. This is how the presentation will be. When I graduated from FTI in Pune, which is in 1985, I was 28 years old. By the time I was quite exposed to many films, both in fiction and non-fiction. And I had observed one of the strong narratives in cinema, both in fiction and non-fiction, or even other kind of genres also, were topics like state versus people, oppressor versus oppressed, exploiter versus exploited, powerful versus weak, abuser versus abused, injustice versus justice, sensitive versus insensitive, right versus wrong, ideal versus non-ideal, man, woman, children, transgender, and society, etc. In all these topics, the filmmaker presumably taking sides in support of the weaker sections against the state or against the powerful or against the perceived villain with good intentions, often taking a lot of risks, daring in their approaches, etc. In spite of good intentions, even with a strong narrative or a script or a good topic, I often found many of these films tend to re-establish cliches. Sometimes they contribute and reinforce exploitations. The polarities become strong, the villains become stronger, the weaker becomes more helpless. Even knowledgeable and experienced filmmakers can slip into misrepresentation and problematize a situation and even end up exploiting the situation or reveal a helplessness in dealing with the situation. Even a well-meaning social relevance film can slip into a commercial film or a propagation of a hero culture, which is anyway the tune of the day. This can happen both in fiction and non-fiction narratives. I felt various factors constitute to this slide. I call it a slide because the filmmakers actually intend something else, but something else happens. This is often unknown to the filmmakers or even to the viewers sometimes. People don't even fully articulate the kind of impact they get from these films. But sometimes in a very subtle such level or post-screening and maybe later in their life, some kind of images keep forming in their head which are contrary to what the film actually tries to do in the beginning. Values and attitudes get formed which can entrap a situation rather than freeing it. So where could be the problems? Where are the factors that contribute a misrepresentation other than what is intended? I kind of thought of a few points for this particular talk, but so I'll keep it simple. In the way of juxtaposing good and bad, the filmmaker can go wrong. Or in the way you develop your characters, how you portray them, represent them. Or other aspects like attitudes, prejudices, ignorance, claiming to be the only perspective, a lack of research, resorting to sensationalism, numbing the audience, can interfere with the overall need of the film. Cinema is a very, very sensuous medium, actually. You all know by this time that it's a very, very temptingly sensuous and very dramatic also. And it's always, many of the filmmakers, if you find that they're all resorting to horror film genre or action film genre, these are all very tempting and you want to do it. You want to create those kind of tensions in the narrative. So it is a very, very attractive medium for that kind of a thing and it pulls you towards that point. The script, scenes, dialogue, use of voiceovers, both in fiction and non-fiction. Many of the fiction films today use voiceovers. It was not the case earlier. The entire beginning part of many of the films is done through voiceovers. Use of background score, the way the sound design is done, editing techniques, pacing, the rhythm of the film, notion of reality and its representation can all become problematic, even for experienced filmmakers. Sometimes the way it is filmed, we'll need some water. Sometimes the way it's filmed, the understanding of camera, the technology, its lenses, the way you choose lenses, compositional elements, the way you compose and frame and take a shot, the rhythm of the shot, perspectives, pacing of the structure can also lead to problems. Or sometimes the understanding of what constitutes a good issue-based film or what is an ideal narrative and its structure and dynamics can itself become a problem. A prejudiced mind will surely leave a certain attitudinal problems within the narrative. These are difficult problems or issues in itself. They keep changing from time to time. The formalistic elements in the making of the cinema. So apart from choosing the socially relevant issues, there is also an issue in cinema as a technology in terms of its access, grammar, distribution, etc. Its rates, financial modes functioning, all these factors are also huge political issues. But there is no other way but to go ahead and make a film that one wants to do and learn it from the process. I felt one of the approaches one can possibly do in this kind of a problematic situation, in terms of misrepresentation and representation, is probably what you can safely do is to seek an empathetic connection to the people or the situations outside the idea of issue. In the way one engages with people and situations, the idea of empathy, grace, respect, intimacy, even in the worst of situations, needs to be worked upon in every narrative. This probably is the best grammar that one can approach with to begin with or to start.
You asked what
I asked her, it was here only. I thought he came and kept it here and Okay, now I will show you a small presentation. It is one of the earlier films that I made or involved with as a cinematographer. It's called Kutti Japan in Kurandegal. It's called Children of Mini Japan, a documentary. It was made by director Chalan Benorkar, who lived in Bangalore. He is no more now. This film is about the children who are working in the Sivakrishna match industry and their exploitation and kind of situation in those areas, the children. So, kindly play the first video.
We have given you the mouse. ఒక్కసారి చూడ
Okay. I'll explain what this is.
Lights on.
Light వేసాయి హెడ్లైట్
कहाँ से प्ले हो? Basically, why I played that particular film is Japan and Kurunegul. Though the topic of that film is very much an issue-based film, where we are looking at exploited children by the exploited society and even the mill owners, the factory owners and all that. Um, the approach to the narrative, the way we filmed the whole thing, the way we worked on it is different. We were not allowed any permission anywhere in Sivakrishna in any of the match industries. So when we find first time when we had a huge crew, like 6 of us were there, 16mm camera and all that. So when we went there, we were threatened by the factory owners that we cannot film inside. They sense that we are trying to do something on this. So we were told that we cannot be in Sivakrishna, which is the place where all this took place filming. So we had to leave the city itself. So the entire crew, all of us went into another city nearby and stayed there. And early morning we will come into this factory, these places, and somehow talk to the gatekeepers and all this. And then somebody will talk to them, and I will go in quickly with my camera. Sound recordings will come with me, and then we will quickly film and come out. Now this is the shooting. This is how we shot this whole film. Like it is like a guerrilla kind of filmmaking. But what I did is that I did not use the camera as an instrument of looking or shooting or just recording or just capturing. Those kind of things I didn't do. What I did is that in those few moments that I tried to be there, I will establish a rapport with these characters, these boys and girls who are there, and I will make myself very comfortable with them and film with them as if like I'm their own, in that kind of situation. Kind of building a certain kind of rapport, intimacy with them. And I also choose the lens of the camera, which was more or less around 40 mm lens, 50 mm lens. And then, so to create that kind of an intimate feeling with all these boys and girls. So I did not want to treat the boys and girls as victims of a situation, while the story of the narrative of the film was like that. So I just filmed with them independent of the narrative, that was larger narrative that I know we are working towards. But I filmed them as very affectionately, very lovingly with them and all that. So what happens is that finally when the film is edited and the narrative is coming through, it creates a very strange kind of impact on the audience watching the film. So this was the first time I thought maybe this is the approach in issue-based filmmaking where you need to get into a certain kind of empathy with the characters, feeling of kind of togetherness, independent of what they are going through and all. So that is the primary requirement. So this was followed up later in another film where we we made a film, me and Sadamini, we made a film on a very shoestring budget, which is like, we used a camera which is run through like a chabi, like you rewind it a few times, it's called Bolex camera, and then you shoot and it will run for 20 seconds. So that's, you don't need a battery for this camera. So we use that camera and a small tape recorder, that time the one tape recorder we managed to get. And then we traveled to many places in the hills in South India. Basically, the areas were in Pachamalai, Kollimalai, and Kalvara and Malay. They're all hills in the central Tamil Nadu belt. So we traveled there searching for forgotten songs among the people. And there also, it was not an issue-based film. We thought, like, let us just be with these people who are living quite remote life. So let us just be with them and see what kind of film can emerge from being there. And one of the things that we thought was, we'll ask people to sing some songs in the night. We'll just hang out all day doing nothing, generally move around. And then somebody will sing a song. And then we started looking at, can you remember older songs? So they will start singing. So this film was very much a move away from issue-based films, but also an issue of people who are living in a remote area, but approached in a very, very different way, in a very affectionate way, I would say. So this is a film that we made in 1989. So, light off.
patere gura toro devadi மண்டிக்காம உள்ள வந்த கட்டி பாருங்காலம் மலர்ந்து கொண்டிருக்கும் சுவாமியாரே உன்னுடைய ஆறாக வீட்டாக பாகம் படுத்திருக்கின்ற சுவாமியாரே பாருங்க சுவாமியார் சாதமே போகலாம் அந்த பாகம் பார்த்ததாலே அந்த பாங்குட வாழ்ந்துப்பா அழைச்சிருந்தாரு அந்த பாகம் பார்த்ததாலே பாங்குட இந்த பட்டி பரவாயின மச்சாங்க பக்கம் வர இந்த கை மூச்சு மாமாக்க இந்த மச்சாங்க சின்ன பண்ணாங்க
Those feelings of intimacy that you can apply to the characters, which I thought was the most important category of approaching any kind of films which are issue-based or looking at inequality in societies, and when you want to deal with that, I think it is very important to establish a rapport and a kind of intimacy with the characters. In my opinion, all documentary short films are issue-based. The making of it itself is an issue. Well, even choosing not to make a documentary in a particular way or only this way is also a powerful issue. All expressions are issue-based. All attempts at expressions are also issue-based. Issues can be expressed in so many ways: emotionally, subtly, simply, arrogantly, confrontationally, accusingly, mockingly, reactively, reflectively, exhaustively, creatively, silently, beautifully, sadly, incompletely, gracefully, poetically, tactfully, manipulatively, etc. All these categories are important and equally valid. Unless we can arrive at least as new imagery of relationship, intimacy, care and concern, activism through filmmaking will remain a non-starter, succumbing to the dominant media representation, ineffective and manipulated. It's time we create imagery of intimacy and involvement as against indifference and objectivity. Images of empathy as against images of sympathy. Images of dignity as against images of defeated and victorious. Images of relationship as against images of manipulations. Images that are free as against images that bind you. Images of care and concern as against images of abuse. Images of affection as against images of accusations. Images that are transparent as against in disguise and mask. So this is the philosophy with which, or approach with which I started approaching filmmaking. And for me, I'll show you my next film, which is the first film that I made as a director and cinematographer. This this film doesn't have any issue in this film. It is just a personal narrative of mine, which is like I'm trying to understand what kind of film I want to make. This is the narrative of the film. And I chose a context of rural and urban rhythms, rural life and urban life. People who come from rural background to the urban background. In this case, it was Mumbai. Like I was thinking of Girish Kasavuli's narrative where there's Krishna is a character who comes from Mumbai, so who comes to the village. So in this case also there's a Mumbai and there's a village. And in this case, people who come to Mumbai are migrants and they try and somehow find a job and feel comfortable in that rhythm. And that rhythm they express as an assertion in a local train which is a kind of a pulse of Mumbai. So these people sit in the Mumbai local trains and celebrate every day, singing songs and almost like asserting their belonging to the Mumbai. So this film is an exploration of rural and urban rhythms and trying to understand what kind of films I will make. So I will show you a brief clip from this. Light off. The film does not define what it's all about. I don't give any information on the film apart from a small synopsis. Otherwise, you just relax and watch the film, and you will sense something. So it is more or less like that. And so this is how I started my filmmaking career as a director. And then I moved on to another arena, which is like I started interacting with a lot of painters. That's why I was curious about your session also. I interacted with a lot of painters and artists in Chennai and other places, and started very fascinated by what they're doing. The kind of experiments that are happening in the artist world is so amazing that I felt that in filmmaking nobody is doing anything. We're all just consumers. We are all doing consumer products, and most of the films are just working towards profit. It's like a business and nothing else. So I felt that it is important that we do experiments in cinema narratives and question the way meanings are being formed in the narratives. So I got involved in one short film which is based on a artist camp in Chennai. It's called Face Like a Man, where about 8 international artists and some Indian artists were there, and they were doing the paintings. And I made a short film from that particular situation, as if I am also one of the artists in the camp. So, please tell me when my session gets over.
How long you
I was given 1 hour and 15 minutes. Yes. So you tell me, I don't know when it started.
Yes.
Huh?
As soon as.
I already finished 1 hour.
Yeah.
Really?
No. You have 15 more minutes.
Okay, let's see. 15 more.
Lights up. See, this film I almost try to reach a certain kind of abstraction in the way I film, and which was followed up in some more films later, which I cannot show today. Where I even treated the camera work for the way you create imagery in the narratives can be as strong as any painter would approach, say, surreality and abstraction. I made one film called My Camera and Tsunami. This film is about a relationship between me and the camera as my partner, which perished in the tsunami. An evocation of partnership in meaning making between me and my camera, in negotiating imagery, trying to engage, reflect, heal oneself, expressing the inexpressible. It is not even important what is being expressed. The film allows a journey of self-reflectivity in image making itself. The notion of construct is questioned, going beyond proving or establishing or justifying.
As the film itself was based on the idea of experience of tsunami film, the footage doesn't exist, along with a deeply displaced experience emerging out of the tsunami. I decided to work on the borders of reality more consciously, where meaning making goes into the spasm of black hole, washing itself of all meanings. The notion of reality denied in presenting the reality and in the construction of it. What I say is not what it is. What it is not what I can say, or what it is not what it is. I even went to the extent of constructing an absence of image in its various shades of the image making. The inability to film an image that erupts outside of its construction without showing it. A non-consumptive mode of cinema. So this is I think I will conclude with this. Wait, I think I'll conclude with this last film clip where this is a kind of position I took in the making of this film. Uh, He's Sundara Ramaswamy. He's a writer who is having his 50th anniversary, marriage anniversary function. And I like him very much. So, and I'm also planning to make a film on him. So that's why I went actually. And, I was filming on the day in his house. And so we went to the beach the next day, myself and one more family. This person, Rihanna, he's Sethuram. Is Sethuram. He died in the tsunami. So he's Akila's father. So this girl also died. That's Akila, his daughter, her daughter. So he died, she died, she died. So I'm very disturbed with the child, this small child. I mean, she's the one who affects me a lot. This small child.
My question is pertaining the cinematographer who goes to the act. When I come to a very predictable location like this to redo that may not be the same place, but as a cinematographer, you still have that feeling that something is going to surprise you in terms of image gathering. When you go or you think you have taken a new stance in terms of looking at images, because there's this idea that you've shot something and the image is no more there, like we were trying to say.
When I was filming, my entire hope was that the moment when the waves hit me, that was the moment I was looking at. I was wanting to have that image. Not so much about what I thought, but what I'm not able to film, and that character is what I was hoping to get from that image. But the inability to film something, the failure to film something, is what is that is an image. I give you my camera now.
Can you frame an image for me?
Yeah.
Is it fair? Okay.
Did we go down? Yeah.
sequence,
Yeah.
I felt that the tree is actually dancing.
Mm.
And before that, the crows, I felt that their camera is also very disturbed
Mm.
to look at that. So,
Okay.
is it the incident which made you to use the camera in this different way, or you decided that you should use the camera in a different way?
Yeah, see, one of the artists that I saw in the camp was a German artist, Tina Zuritzek. And she was painting like I never seen anyone painting like that. She would use a paint from one easel and then the camera would be there. And she'll take it and then go running towards the camera and she'll close it. And then she'll again take it and then it's almost like a fight between her and the cameras or something that's kind of puzzled. When I saw that, I got very inspired and I felt that I'm also feeling like that in the context in which I was there at the time. That I want to make a film with that kind of energy. So this whole film is filming these artists and also doing something like this, along with it, so that I also started looking things in a different way. So the entire crow sequence and the tree, everything was reflected from what I saw in the artist.
It gives us a lot of freedom, basically,
Yeah.
as a viewer.
Yeah. The entire idea of composition changed. What is an ideal composition that changed? A lot of discoveries are there. Yeah, any other questions?
That
Yeah.
the train situation was there, no?
Yeah.
So actually you have shot and the train was going, but after that again platform appeared on the other side. No? How did you take that?
Yeah, it is a kind of a montage sequence where there are many travel things were shot together, and then the sound was worked out for that. And then you see a train like this, first one, then you see a train going like this, then there's a train again going like this. A lot of intercutting of various kind of action. Then lastly, you take a long shot or the top shot of the whole thing, and the train goes from below.
No, I'm not talking about that. When you're shooting, it's going like this. In the same direction, the platform of the other appeared. That means that side platform is there. How did you take that?
Yeah, from the train only.
No, see, you are taking this time, means the train is going, right?
Train is
You
going.
have taken.
The train is moving like this. Yeah.
Yeah, but after that, again through this only, the
Yeah,
other
in
side
between,
appeared.
in between there are 2-3 shots.
That is
In between there are 2-3 shots where there's a train passing, and then I cut to the shot where the train is again going like this. Yeah, it's a montage sequence basically, just worked out in editing in the cinema. Any other questions? Points? Okay, thank you all. Thank you.